Megyn Kelly. My goodness. What happened to Megyn Kelly? So let me take you back. She's had just a string of incomprehensible reactions, specifically to the Epstein files. In this case, it relates to Marjorie Greene. You remember that Marjorie Greene, after she had been pushing for the release of the Epstein files, a rare moment where Marjorie was on the correct side of an issue, that made Trump describe her as Marjorie Trader Brown. It never gets old. And why? Why, Jaden? Why does he call her Marjorie Trader Brown? I get the traitor. What's the brown about?
Because green grass turns brown when it rots.
There we go. That's what Trump says. Okay. So, and he knows a lot about grass. We've heard that from him before. And so you had Marjorie in response to him attacking her, which he wouldn't, I don't know if he would admit it's over the Epstein files, but it was. Then she leaks texts about him and communications she'd had over the Epstein files. We covered this all before, and encouraging him to change his stance on it. And then now we sit in a place where, so that leak really infuriated Trump and her, then publicly bashing him and saying he is fighting. Before she would go, I don't know, maybe he's getting bad advice. Now she's saying he is fighting to cover up the Epstein files. Now she would admit it. And then Trump, because he lost in the House, ended up being like, I've been wanting these released forever. And then he signs the bill, which is the craziest sequence of events, to sign a bill forcing yourself to do something you could do whenever. Weird. But then he does that, but there's exceptions. If he deems it to be necessary to be classified, he can classify it, and it doesn't have to be released. I wonder what he'll think is necessary to be classified. Maybe stuff that pertains to the commander-in-chief shouldn't be released, you know, for the sake of national security. So this is a joke. Amid all of that, Megyn Kelly, who went on this whole ramble I'll remind you of in a second, trying to stipulate that maybe Jeffrey Epstein committed illegal acts against minors, but was he really a pedophile? Was he targeting 8-year-olds? For some reason, she went into that whole pondering and went very viral for it. And it's just mind-bending to see people who, I guess their loyalty for Trump, then squaring with a clear moral issue has caused their brains to melt. And look at, there's so many things you could say about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Look at what Megyn Kelly says about her. She, in a time like this, is irritated that Marjorie is engaging in infighting and going on CNN. That's her. That's what she's upset about.
A breakup between Marjorie Taylor Greene and President Trump. And I have to say, I don't like this at all. Just as we fell in love with MTG, she broke up with Trump. We did not fall in love with MTG because she started saying anti-Trump things. We just thought she was interesting. But she, at the same time, was getting interesting to like the ladies of The View and now CNN. And now I'm like, I don't know exactly what's happening here. She and Trump are fighting ugly. He calls her Marjorie Trader Greene now. She's saying that these comments are endangering her life. And she did a thing that no conservative should do. I mean, truly just, it shouldn't be done. She went on CNN to rip on Trump / not other Republicans, but Trump.
Trump has figured out a procedural way to once again get out of releasing everything and being fully transparent. But what we really should be outraged about is that Marjorie went on CNN. And you just don't do that if you're conservative. You just don't do it. You don't do it.
Ben Shapiro did it the other day, too, and got all sorts of blowback for it. Like, Republicans don't want to see their people on CNN. You know, it's one thing if you're Scott Jennings and you're taking on a table of Democrats fighting for Trump, but it's another to see, like, you go into the den of the enemy and start bashing your own team. So, and MTG is not dumb. So she did that for a reason. I don't totally understand it yet, but...
What a weird... The den of the enemy. It's a news station. I'd go on Fox News and say what I believe. It's a news station. And in the case of CNN, it's an actual news station. Not whatever the heck you call Fox News. And just imagine that being even... It's the same reason I said, what are you even talking about when you're bringing up, well, I never heard of a story of Jeffrey being into an 8-year-old. It's like, what is that even for? What's that point for? Who is it for? Why is it for? How is it for? Same thing here. This is what you're irritated about? that she went into the den of the enemy to bash Trump, or maybe she just wanted to raise awareness. I mean, I'm sure she's doing something cynical for her own gain, obviously, but the actions themselves is just that of someone raising more awareness about wanting the files to actually be released. And she's going to get a more sympathetic ear about how she's getting a bunch of death threats now because Trump is attacking her on CNN than she will these right-wing outlets. And maybe the right-wing outlets would have to contend with how whenever they cheer on Trump's attacks, and that brings on to people similar threats that they never cared about before, if they care about Marjorie experiencing that now, will they have to then do some introspection about what they've cheered on in the past? So that's bizarre. But, I mean, not too long ago, Megyn Kelly had Marjorie on and was super hyped. Like she said, I fell in love with Marjorie. And you could kind of see the seeds being planted already for Marjorie getting prepared to kind of break away from the party. And again, this isn't cheering on, in general, Marjorie. I know that she's trying to position herself in some way for some political gain. She's too cynical not to. Her track record is not one that would make me go, she's probably just doing this for the good of people. But she's on the correct stance or the side of the Epstein issue, and that is fine to acknowledge. Click the subscribe button, by the way, as we continue through this. Just takes a tap, but it helps to get the word out about the show.
Really important stuff. Okay. We in the House have only passed 2 of our 12 appropriation bills. Only 2 of them. Took us 7 months to pass 2. We've been out on recess for 5, it'll be 5 weeks by the time we go back on September 2nd. Okay, get ready for this. Going back in September, we're only going to be in session for 15 days. 15 work days.
Why?
I can't even tell you. It makes no logical sense to me. To me, that's a calendar set up for failure. So that means the House has 15 days to pass 10 more appropriation bills in order to fund the government. And the Senate has only passed 3 out of their 12 appropriation bills, and they have roughly the same amount of time.
Why can't we pass any of these bills?
Here's why. Well, number one, I don't know why. They don't have them finished. And I don't know, I can't comprehend why they don't have them finished, but you have the pulling and tugging
behind the scenes
yes.
of those lobbyists saying, make sure this gets covered.
Yes. And so they're packing in all the appropriation bills with all the crap.
Yep.
And then they have members like me that is saying, I will never vote for that.
Right.
And so
this was her kind of laying the groundwork before the shutdown of how she was already kind of getting ready to do her big, I'm breaking away. And then you layer on top Trump's Epstein cover up. And I think she saw the moment. And she took it. So Megyn Kelly shouldn't be that surprised. And to be honest with you, I also would prefer, I mean, obviously, I'm liberal, so obviously. But I think most people would prefer to go on CNN than on the show again of the person saying stuff like this.
There are enough exceptions to what the DOJ has to turn over that if Trump were really worried about a document or two, there is the potential that he could just designate it classified and we wouldn't see it. I do think something has gone on that changed his opinion. And given that he controls the DOJ, Pam Bondi answers to him, he's got to have some level of comfort that nothing's going out there that's going to completely crush him. There is not a single woman who has said, yes, I was trafficked by Epstein to Trump. There's one who says Trump walked into a house with Epstein and allegedly fondled her upon meeting her. Okay, that's what the best they have so far.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Number one, it's weird how she's like, well, actually, Trump, based on how this law was written, could cover up even further anything that he feels is damaging about him. And instead of going, and that's terrible, she goes, so that's cool. It's like the energy she's delivering. Like, so, hey, if there's anything really damaging, we're not going to see it. Whoopsie. And then after she goes, and what? What? Some random girl said he fondled her? That's all they have? Pfft. Which, by the way, isn't even true. We've reviewed that. But what is the obsession with what's, to me, if you're a supporter of his, don't even talk about what the Democrats want to get out of this. Don't talk about what you think is not in there or in there. Irrelevant. Just think about why Trump has now spent months doing everything to prevent transparency. That's all it needs to be about. All this pontification about the Democrats are crazy because, you know, this survivor said that she didn't personally witness Trump doing something criminal. It's like, that's irrelevant to the debate we're having right now. And it's weird that you just acknowledged exactly why there's still reason to be concerned, which is there's a loophole for him to just say, we released everything we were legally able to, which is what he said in his post. We're going to release everything we legally can. And we will define what's legal by what is too sensitive to be released based on my determination. And I would not want to appear on the show. Yes, we need to hear it again of the person saying this.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types.
Okay, I can't hear it again. There's another minute and 10 seconds of that, but we've played it a few times. And if you've never seen that clip, you're probably thinking, wait, but play it, because then she'll explain why she made that point and how that changes anything or how that makes any sense or how barely legal means 15. Not true. How that's not. She doesn't. She just completes the point and just emphasizes that. So I don't know what's going on with her, and I would say I've lost all respect, but I don't really remember having a lot of respect for her in her MAGA era. Anywho, but it went down from there. Now we're digging into the ground. That's where your respect's going, Megyn. And I know you're devastated. You never wanted to hear that from me, but I said it. Here was Tara Palmieri responding to that.
Megyn Kelly, you want to hear the sound of one of the girls that was recruited from her high school by Jeffrey Epstein?
We had a coach that was there. We had, it was like two other girls who all used to live with him.
Who were you introduced to?
One of his girlfriends, one of his, like, slaves that he had lived with him. And when I say slaves, like one of the girls that he bought to, like, have sex with him.
They are so young. One of the girls, a 14-year-old, according to police reports, referred to his penis as a wee-wee. Courtney Wild showed up at his doorstep with braces on her teeth at 14. This is not normal for a 50-something-year-old man to date a 15 or 14-year-old. It is pedophilia. And in fact, I would recommend that you actually go and listen to all of the audio from the police reports.
So you can see, I mean, it's a very powerful way to contextualize what Megyn Kelly's saying. Even just hearing the voice or seeing those photos, it's like adds a layer of just sickness to obviously Epstein, but then the weird, I don't want to misrepresent what she's saying, not justification, but strange, inaccurate specification she tries to make, or like discerning, making a distinction inaccurately between what one thing, but then what would be worse. And then you see what Tara Palmieri put there, and you're like, oh. Even if, I don't even need to go here, but like, even if the point she was trying to make were true, still, I don't even understand how it is relevant, how it's still not a weird justification. And with what you just saw there, it's also the essence of the point she's trying to make is not even true. So it's like a double whammy. And the reason I keep bringing up the show is I just can't get over someone who's been speaking for a living this long, in the case of Megyn Kelly, saying something like that on purpose. And like, I can't get my head around another person who does speaking on a podcast trying to even understand where her head was at. Like, what was she thinking she was doing? That's why it keeps coming up. Now I referenced earlier Marjorie Greene saying that Trump is causing her to get a lot of death threats. Dana Bash posed the question that I brought up to her, which is, do you have any regret about how you've rooted on very similar attacks that he's leveled at other people?
You posted on X that President Trump is, with his comments, fueling a, quote, hotbed of threats against you. Obviously, any threats to your safety are completely unacceptable. But we have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially.
How is it? You can't predict anything about American politics. How is it that we have I don't even do the whole list, but a president, let's just throw in some of the elements. A president who tried to coup himself into staying in power last time he lost an election, left office in disgrace after a violent riot, comes back and wins with his biggest supporter, Marjorie Taylor Greene, right by his side. He then has a scandal relating to being the best friend of a notorious sex trafficker who died under suspicious circumstances in prison, and a missing minute hasn't been found on the security footage. And then we sit here today with that Marjorie Greene telling us that politics has gotten too toxic, and she's apologizing to Dana Bash on CNN for it, as her previous dear leader is calling her a traitor Brown. Sounds worse when I don't say her first name. While Trump is glazing Zohran Mamdani. That's all happening right now. What is the world that we're in? Very confusing. Very, very confusing. Someone commented on one of our videos, who gets custody of Brian Glenn in this clash? Because Brian Glenn loves Trump and he's dating Marjorie Greene. And he's the reporter in the Oval Office who's like, Mr. President, how do you get so sexy? Yeah. And he's like the biggest pro-Trump reporter. And so someone asked that question, who gets custody of him? It seems like he's standing by his woman. He's standing by Marge. He said, I love this woman. It's like in The Office. I love this woman. To Jan. Pro-MAGA reporter Brian Glenn goes to bat for girlfriend Marjorie Taylor Greene amid a feud with Trump. And he posted these images. I love this woman. I love this country. God bless America. And for some reason, he blesses us with 2 out of the 4 images being shirtless images of him. I don't know why, but that's what he chose to do. He wants us to know that he's fit. Despite the characteristics of what you see when his shirt's on, he wants you to know that when it's off, he's actually more fit than you'd expect. That's important to him. Then you have a MAGA pastor, Shane Vaughn. Wait, let me see. Shane Vaughn is this really strange MAGA pastor, and he started making these videos while he's driving, and his eyes are on the camera a little too long, and I'm worried he's gonna get in a car wreck. But he wants us to know that he drives a Cadillac. That's important. You can see there, big brand on his seatbelt. I have money, and he is very upset with this whole Epstein situation. Oh, you think like he wants the files to be? No. He's upset people are defying Trump.
There's one leader. There's one creator in the MAGA movement. You cannot tell the man that created Make America Great Again what that means. He created it. Who do you think you are? I'm asking that sincerely. There is a plague in our minds. There's a rebellion in our hearts towards leadership. God raised up a leader. It's not Marjorie Greene. It's not Candace Owens.
You gotta get some better shocks. Listen to this. This bump nearly takes the wheels off his
The
car.
leader. It's not Marjorie Greene. It's not Candace Owens. It's not Tucker Carlson. It's Donald Trump. And do you know, just a few months ago, every one of you believed that? Do you know you stood in lines at rallies for hours and days? Do you know you would have laid down and took a bullet for Donald Trump?
Dude, speak for yourself. That's so weird. No, who wants to take a bullet for Trump? That's such a weird thing to say. You would have laid, and also why you? I think you mixed thoughts there. You would lay down and take a bullet. Is it? You get it? Nah. Shut up. So that's what Shane is saying while he's driving and he's not looking at the road very much, and then also while he was sitting on the couch, he said this.
Guys, have you ever stopped and thought for one moment, by them saying there is no list, is it possible that they're making all these people think they got by scot-free so that they can set them up for the great fall? Trust the president. I mean, my God, this is the man that God saved his life 1 year ago from a bullet. Don't you think God...
How do you square that? If he wanted to save him from the bullet, why did he let the fan of Trump die? I don't understand this. Why wouldn't he just make Thomas Crooks not shoot at anybody? Anywho, he said Trump is the creator of the MAGA movement. He's the creator. Trust the president. He is our creator. That is today's show. Trust in your Lord Jesus Trump.